Welcome to the official Ronnie Landis podcast show, where you learn to upgrade the human experience through natural nutrition, lifestyle design, and consciousness engineering. This is no ordinary health or personal growth podcast, and Ronnie Landis is definitely no ordinary host. Get ready to receive your upgrade in all you believed was possible, starting now.
Aloha, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the official Ronnie Landis podcast show. And as always, I am your host, Ronnie Landis. I am also the founder of the Holistic Health Mastery Program. This is my online holistic nutrition certification course, which is designed to take a student from the basics of natural nutrition all the way to the most cutting-edge areas of integrative health and lifestyle transformation. This program is really unlike anything else that's ever been available on the internet, featuring a comprehensive 70 video lesson curriculum, 55 bonus videos, a student community support group, and a monthly live video training with me personally, which is like doing a coaching session with me and hundreds of students from all over the world each and every month. This program has received incredible reviews and feedback from students of all backgrounds and all educational levels, such as the budding health experts and professionals to longtime holistic wellness enthusiasts, all the way to the complete beginner. There seems to be a lot here to offer to virtually everyone who has a keen interest in learning how to optimize their body, mind, and spirit through redesigning what they believe is possible, not only for their health, but ultimately for their life and the lives of those around them. And one more thing that sets this course apart from all others is that once you enroll, there are no hidden fees, no limitations on the content that you can access up front, and no time restrictions. This means that once you purchase the program, it is yours. Period. End of story. There's no 6 or 12-month time limitations with a continuation fee waiting for you at the end. This is a go-at-your-own pace course that you can continue to access as a lifelong resource that will prove to be an investment into your education, into your health, and into your personal growth that will bear fruit for years to come. So you can find more information and enroll into the Holistic Health Mastery Program at www.holistichealthmastery.com. Okay, so jumping into today's show, it is episode number 50, 50. This is a huge accomplishment and one I am super proud of, and there's a lot that could be said about this, but before we do that, I just want to send out a huge vote of appreciation to all of you that have supported me along this journey, all of you that have chronicled my journey over the last decade of doing this work and really putting myself out there on the internet space and just sharing my work and growing and evolving and shifting and turning and all the amazing transformations that have occurred in my own personal life and allowing me the platform to share it all with everybody out there, all of you that have listened to me and have supported me all these years. So thank you so much, and thank you for supporting this podcast. This has truly been a labor of love. And for those who don't know, this podcast is still relatively new. I didn't start releasing interviews on this particular podcast until, I want to say February. No, March and April. Probably around April 2016 is when I started launching this podcast. And I was literally just recording interviews like a madman, just, like a number of interviews. Some days I had 7 interviews in a day, no joke. And I was just going at it because I had a huge host of colleagues and contemporaries and people that I had immediate access to that were world leading experts in their field of holistic health and all the different, all the episodes that we've had up to this point. And we have many, many more on the way. But let's focus in on this episode. Number 50 is with my colleague and someone that I just really, really respect on a very high level, both as a professional. I love the work that he does as an integrative nutritionist and holistic health educator. But also just as a person, as a role model for all the men out there. Really an amazing human being, Shawn Stevenson. You may have heard of Shawn Stevenson because in the last couple of years, especially the last 2 years, I want to say, he's really starting to blow up as he is deserved to be. Really as one of the forerunners for the new age of holistic health role models, I want to say. And his recent book, Sleep Smarter, is really cracking into the bestsellers list, I believe. I don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. I haven't checked into it. But I think I saw that at one point. If not, it will be eventually, because it's an amazing book. It's an amazing topic, and Shawn is so passionate about this subject in particular. That's one of the reasons I had to have him on, is to talk about what it is to sleep smarter. But in this particular conversation, we unexpectedly went down more of a personal journey of his. We both talk a lot about our own personal journey, what we've been through in the recent 3 years or so, because the last time me and Shawn had spoken was about 3 years ago when he was on my previous podcast. And if you want to check out that interview, that is number 3 on this podcast show. You can go back down, scroll down to episode 3. And that episode with me and Shawn is there. And I feel like we were both like different people. We were definitely in a different stage in our life and a different stage in our career. And certainly he has just taken leaps and bounds in his career. And I'm really proud of him. And I'm super happy that I could have him on for this show. You're going to love this show. I'm just going to say that I'm going to stop talking, and I am going to jump into the interview with Shawn Stevenson. But I just want to say for the record, this was one of my favorite conversations to date. Out of about 80 recorded interviews up to this point, this was one of my favorites because it came at a point in my personal journey where I needed this conversation. And it just so happened to be recorded, so all the better for all of you that get to benefit from it. But for me personally, it was like medicine, and I think it was a little medicinal for Shawn too. You can tell in the interview that he gets a little emotional, and he really digs down deep into his heart and soul to pull out some really inspiring insights for all of us. So without further ado, let's jump into it with Shawn Stevenson. Enjoy. Shawn Stevenson is a best-selling author and creator of the Model Health Show, featured as the #1 health podcast in the country on iTunes. A graduate of the University of Missouri, St. Louis, Shawn studied business, biology, and kinesiology and went on to be the founder of Advanced Integrative Health Alliance, a company that provides wellness services for individuals and organizations worldwide. Shawn has been featured in Entrepreneur Magazine, Men's Health Magazine, ESPN, Fox News, and many other media outlets. He is also a frequent keynote speaker for numerous organizations, universities, and conferences, all with outstanding reviews. It is my pleasure and honor to bring on Mr. Shawn Stevenson.
Ronnie, thank you so much for having me on, man. I truly, truly appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And, You know, for all the listeners out there, me and Shawn did an interview 3 years ago, and that remastered interview is available as number 3 on this podcast. This interview is number 50 on this particular podcast, so you guys can go back and check that out and hear about Shawn's incredible journey from how he got into all this, all that amazing stuff is available on that interview, and I definitely recommend checking it out. But right now, I kind of feel like I want to pick up from where we left off, and 3 years later, I'm really interested in what you've been up to in these last 3 years.
Oh man, it's been a wild ride to say the least, and I think that this is really a testament to the power of intention. And not just that, but walking in the direction of your dreams and of your mission. Since that point, the first thing that comes to mind is this incredible experience of writing a book and having the support of Rodale, my publisher, and getting this in the hands of thousands upon thousands of people. And it's been probably the biggest and hardest thing I've ever done in my life, outside of being a dad. And it's been incredibly rewarding. I've learned so much, and I've been able to connect with people on a level that I never had before. You know, having a show, just like your incredible podcast, you mentioned earlier about, being number 1 in the country and all that good stuff, which is just amazing. But there's still this very strange, like behind the wall, kind of behind the curtain disconnection from your listeners. I've got all of these people in over 200 countries checking out the show. And I know that they're there. I see some of the comments, but when you actually get to meet these people in person, your followers, your fans, your community, your tribe, whatever it is, the people that you want to be, you're just grateful to be a part of their life. And to meet those people through the advent of this book has been just transformational in my life for sure. And to hear those stories firsthand out of people's mouths. So it's been a lot of that over the last few years, just really sitting with these things and being more receptive, because there's definitely a time that you can start to get jaded, especially if you're doing work at a high level and you're helping a lot of people. You can start to have that praise just kind of wash over you. And the criticism, same thing. If you're going to do anything at a high level, you're definitely going to have criticism. But to get out of that place of being fearful of criticism and also getting drunk off of praise, but at the same time being able to fully be present and hear those stories. That's what I've been doing. And I feel like a different person because I understand how valuable I am. And I can't say that I knew that 3 years ago. I knew that I was on to something special, but I didn't truly understand how valuable I am. And if I wasn't alive at this time, so many of these things wouldn't be in existence, and it's really a powerful revelation to have. And that's something that has become my new mission outside of helping people to get incredible sleep, helping people to have incredible health, but for people to actually understand how valuable they are, and because I know that with my story and where I came from, to be a person of value, to be something that, to be somebody who's created such an impact on the world, I know all of us have that potential in one way or another. And it's become part of my mission in the last 3 years, really in the last few months, that I've really made that a consistent thing that I talk about, is helping people to uncover that value in their own lives. So that's a little bit of it, man. And one other quick thing, I've moved. Right now I'm looking into my backyard, which is literally the woods. So I've gotten out of the city life, and with, again, the power of intention, I didn't even know that this was possible. And also, my show has been a really, really kind of big thing, and it's built this really powerful platform to where I'm reaching the same amount of people or more than these celebrity names that you see on TV, the Jillian Michaels of the world and people like that, and seeing the power that great content and heart actually have to reach more people. So that's really been an incredible thing in the last 3 years. And I guess that's about it, man. Just health and happiness of my family. And I hope that answers your question.
It answers it in a way that it penetrates something inside of me, and it speaks to the reflective. I've been using the term holographic reflection, that somehow the universal codes are kind of woven into, because when everything you just said, Shawn, is exactly verbatim, exactly what's been going on with me. So there's definitely cosmological, astrological kind of principles that I think all of us as a collective and as individuals are feeling very much, because when you mention how you feel about meeting the people that have followed you online, it's the same feeling I get why I love being a public speaker, why I had not taken the path full force of being like a vlogger, a YouTuber. I love putting content out there, but there's something I get when I'm actually with people publicly. There's some kind of activation of genius that comes through me that doesn't come through the same way that I do on a video. And I just want to touch and just reflect real quickly on something you said, because I think it's so paramount. And for me personally, it just strikes a chord. You mentioned the possibility of becoming jaded in this whole journey. And I feel like as a culture, that's something everybody feels on some level. This certain jadedness or numbness, right? That's why we're so overly medicated in so many different ways. And for me personally, as of recently, I got the spiritual impulse to take a step back from the pursuit, to actually get an idea of what I'm pursuing, why am I still doing this? What is that impulse inside of me that wants to keep going forward with this health and personal development message? And I've had to take a step back, because I realized not a day goes by that somebody doesn't tell me how I've changed their life, how I've inspired them, how I've given them insights that they needed at a time of turmoil. And I got to tell you, it's sobering, because it started to just wash over me. I was becoming unaffected by it. And nothing could seem to penetrate the thing inside of me that felt numb. No matter how much praise or acknowledgement or validation I was getting, I felt this numbing. And that's why I decided to take a step back. And also why I was really excited to get onto this conversation with you in particular, because I knew something deep would come through. So I just want to reflect that back and just say that your words could not be more timely. I appreciate it, and I know that everyone listening can definitely appreciate that too. So we're totally going to go into the book, the Sleep Smarter book. We're going to go into all that, but before we do, I want to write out this train of thought a little bit more, just in terms of, we're so saturated with information. Right, we're in pursuit of education and informing ourselves, but I've come to realize that really isn't what the deal is. It's really has a lot more to do with our personal psychology. It has a lot to do with that impulse inside of us that actually wants to change, or in my language, to transform. And so I want to touch with you. Actually, this is exactly what I want to say. You mentioned. In explaining your process, you mentioned that this has been the hardest thing for you in writing this book, besides obviously being a family man. I want to push the button on that. What do you mean by that?
Oh man, well, there's a couple of things. It's really you have to master your level. Really, that's the kind of underlying understanding. First and foremost, is you have to master your level. And I used to think that I was busy. I used to think that I had a lot going on. I used to think that I had a strong platform, but I really didn't understand what that looks like. And now I feel so connected to every level in some strange way. Like I know that I can touch every level behind me and in front of me, but I'm firmly cemented where I am. I'm really checking in to master this place that I'm at right now and not missing a moment of that. And what developed the character to master this level right now is embracing the work. And so in order for me to do this process, I'm one of those people where I can't half do something, it's all or nothing. And has led to some problems in the past, but also has led to big success as well. And so with having this book deal and having all these incredible publishers vying for me and wanting me to be a part of their publishing house, you know, I ultimately went with Rodale because I knew that they were the voice in the health category as far as nonfiction books that are out there. They're the dominant force. And I also knew just from the initial conversation that they were not going to try to water down my message. And so that was really important. And so now that I got what I wanted in my publishing house, now I had to actually do what I was setting out to do. You know, I had to fully step into that and to deliver. And it wasn't like it was pressure. It's not like that. It was, and let me preface by saying this. I absolutely love to write. Love it. I love to write. And now it was actually a whole industry waiting on me, you know, and I had to really step up to the plate and execute. And so that required me to make some tough decisions, some bittersweet moments. One of those was closing my practice, which was a very successful practice for over a decade in consulting and clinical nutrition for over 10 years. And I realized that it had become like a security blanket. And I realized that I loved that work, but I was not in love with it. You know, like you might hear in a relationship, you know, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And by the way, if anybody ever says that to you, please walk away immediately. You know, it's just like the worst thing to say to somebody. But that's how I felt about my practice and my clinic. And so I made the decision to close my practice and to focus 120% of my energy on writing, on basically my mission was to influence influencers, you know, and to focus on that through books, through the Model Health Show, through my show, and, you know, through speaking and all the stuff that I started off doing before I even got into any of the online stuff. I got back connected with that, but it was a whole new ball game because, you know, I'm at a different level. And so that level required a lot more intense work and intense focus. So that's kind of the foundation behind it. Now, there was another really important component that I don't want to miss out on talking about. With closing my practice and shifting my focus to writing, it brought a whole new structure for my life as well. You know, I had to figure out how to live again for a little while there, you know, and figure out how to structure my day, figure out how to structure executing on getting the work done. And that really was difficult for me because I had become locked in a pattern and also patterns of thinking that I didn't even realize for the past 10 plus years. So this is another really hallmark thing. And a question I would pose for everyone is, when's the last time you did something for the first time? And to really sit with that, because even the best of us, you know, who are like, we're about progress, we're about growth, but it's growth that is comfortable for us still. Right. You know, and so when's the last time you did something that was actually really uncomfortable, but that was still in the direction of your dream? You know, it was still on the path. And the thing you might be in the back of your mind just saying, you know what, I can't really do that right now. I don't have the connections. I don't have the resources. I don't have the finances. I don't have the whatever, you know, fill in the blank. I don't have the whatever. Just keep on with the excuses. And ultimately, we can still take action towards that thing. And so making this decision to do this work, I didn't know there was going to come with a new shift into my approach to living. And so that was all kind of melded into it. Again, the process, though, itself was beautiful. I loved the process of writing and creating this incredible book that came out of this whole situation. But there were some things that pushed up against my comfort zone in a big, big way. Deadlines, for example. I'll tell you right now, right off the bat, Ronnie, why I've been an entrepreneur for so long is I don't really like people telling me what to do, you know? And so that's just full transparency. You know, my wife knows this, but I've also become weathered and become more grace. I would say I really love the word grace for right now, this time of my life, becoming more graceful and accepting. And you're just changing the language. No one's telling me what to do. They're advising, they're giving coaching, they're offering mentorship, you know, just changing the language softens it a lot for me, you know. And so having a really powerful, amazing editor, for example, and still sticking to what I want for my vision. So having to work on those muscles as well, of having other people involved on my vision, on creating my vision, which I never did before. So all of those things really help to create this, what I said earlier, which is the toughest thing I've ever done. So kind of locking in, putting those hours in, writing, and physical pain even coming, because even though I advise people to take breaks while they're working, dude, when you get in the zone, my hands, I was developing like carpal tunnel or whatever because of the typing and the clicking and the research. I was obsessed, and I had to really check myself even through that process, and to do those small things to take care of my health, because I'm a firm believer in paying yourself first as far as your health is concerned, so you show up better for everybody else. So I really had to focus on those small things during the day of, even right now I'm standing on my grounding mat, making sure I'm getting some time outside in the sun, making sure that I'm, hydrated, all those simple things that can get lost if you're obsessed with your vision. And so that's really kind of at the heart of it. And I want to say one other thing really quickly, about this, something you mentioned earlier when I said about being jaded, because this is really important. Now, it's easy today to get jaded by negativity, to get jaded by the same old thing on the news is the blues, that same thing, the fear, the violence, the lack, the desperation, the struggles, all of that stuff coming at us, and we become blind to it. We become jaded by it because it becomes a part of our psyche, and it's just more fear, and we just live with it. But the crazy thing is, you can become jaded on the other end of the spectrum with goodness and with positivity and with happiness and life and growth and success. And even though everybody listening has heard this before, hopefully you're going to hear this in a whole new light, because that's something to be concerned about, because you don't want that to be your life, and you start missing out on just how good your life actually is. And this simple word is so powerful, and it's gratitude. But it's a practice. It doesn't come naturally to us. It really doesn't. And people might want to, if somebody can argue about this, we're spiritual beings having a human, whatever. We're hardwired to look for problems. This is how we're wired up. If you really study evolutionary biology, our brains, they've evolved on top of other brains. We've got a brain that will take over in a second, your quote reptile brain, your amygdala, just based off of a stress situation or a stressful thing that you even think about. That part of your brain can hijack the whole machine. All right. So we got to understand we're hardwired to look for problems. So looking at the positivity and the goodness, it takes work. It takes a practice. So it's something as simple as this. Me today getting a message from somebody, on Instagram, just about, what was the one today? Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, it was just about a woman who actually got a few copies of Sleep Smarter, and it's helping her tremendously. And she got copies for her friends. And instead of me just like, oh, that's cool, double tap, move on, I'll just sit with it for just a moment.
Yes.
Just really think about it and give thanks and just hold on to that moment for just a little bit and then let it go.
Yeah.
Again, so I'm not getting drunk off of it to where I'm not performing or it's coloring my vision too much. It's just that I took that moment to embrace that goodness, and I didn't miss it, which I used to do. And so that's something we all, especially people who listen to a podcast like this, is you don't want to get jaded by the goodness in your life, because I guarantee you, no matter how difficult your challenge is right now, you're in a position to serve a lot of other people. You're in a position to help a lot of other people. Your story is so much better than many others, and you've got gifts to give. But it's going to be difficult when times get difficult if you feel like you're not good enough, or you feel like the happiness that you feel you deserve isn't around you, because I promise you it is. You just have to pay attention.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to hear all this, because you're literally speaking, again, a reflection of what's been coming up for me. And I don't want to this definitely isn't about me, but hopefully this can also be a reflection for anyone listening to this, in the sense that, too, you know, I've been really tapping back into Anthony Robbins' work, and we all love Tony Robbins. He's been like kind of a grandfather, so to speak, for many of us. And he has this quote that I maybe I've heard it before, but I didn't hear it until now, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And he said that you need to divorce your story and marry the truth. Mm-hmm. And it hit me in a point where all the layers of story, I've been going into my conscious computer and really digging up everything that I could find that was a story, whether it was a positive story or not. I wanted to get clear, like, what are the storylines that are running the show? And until I get to the truth, the honest truth, essentially, which leads to compassion and unconditional love for myself first, I can't be an emanation of what I seek to, provide in terms of value to help other people, and come from a place, like you said, of taking every compliment, taking every shift that someone else attributes to maybe something I help them with, and taking it into myself and letting that shift me. Right, and keeping that feedback loop of positivity and in alignment. And so just touching on that for a moment, I think it's really relative to everything that you've shared, and the idea of rekindling that intrinsic passion to be a, quote Michael Beckwith, a beneficial presence on the planet. It seems to me that every single maybe hesitancy that we have in life is rooted in some kind of fear, and what insulates that fear, similar to maybe call it protein deposits that insulate a cancer cell, there's a story that is circulating. Does that ring true for you, or would you like to elaborate on that idea?
Hello?
Hello?
Man, my mic was muted. Oh, so okay. So sorry, man.
Did you hear everything?
I did. Yes, man. Oh my goodness. So sorry about that, bro. I was making sure my wife just left out of the house, so I was making sure that the door was closed and I muted the line. So my man, yeah. Well, dude, yeah. So I love that, especially, the work of Michael Bernard Beckwith is just paramount and amazing. But really, this is what it's all about. When somebody is saying that I want my kids to just be good people, yeah, or I just want to feel like I'm being a good person. I am a good person. What does that mean? What does that mean? Because a lot of good people fail. A lot of good people struggle. I just wrote about this today, actually. A lot of good, really smart people struggle to have the health that they want, the body that they want. A great example is the icon Oprah. Oprah Winfrey, she could buy all of our houses right now, everybody listening. And, she wouldn't be hurting in the pocket by any means, and she's a really, really interesting figure because she has the ability to do almost anything. But at the same time, she can't seem to figure out or master or buy her health, and she's one of the biggest people that we could say for certain who's brought positive messages to major media, and she made a concerted effort very early on to not be in the news anymore because it was all bad news. And we have her to thank for that. So talk about being a beneficial presence on the planet. That is somebody right there, bar none. But at the same time, it doesn't matter how good you are, or how much, or how smart you are, or how much you think you're doing. There are certain things in life that you have to still understand the principles behind. And when it comes with Oprah, for the example of understanding how to change her body, the principles that she's been privy to don't really match up, because she knows there's a way. She's lost weight. She's good at losing weight, but she always seems to find it. She's really good at losing weight. All of us can lose weight, all of us, but how do we actually uncover where we let it go permanently? And again, it doesn't matter how good of a person you are. It matters, are you practicing the principles?
Right.
And so that's what it really boils down to. So being a beneficial presence on the planet is number one, yes. Being a do-gooder, being a go-giver. Yes, those things are important. But also practicing the principles of being a beneficial presence. So what do those things look like, in the grand scheme of things? How much value are you giving to the lives of other people? And there's another wonderful quote that says, service to many leads to greatness. This is a scriptural reference. Service to many leads to greatness. And that has always really spoke to me. And always looking for a way that I can serve not just a lot of people, but the depth. You've got to have the breadth and the depth. You've got to have the full picture. So how deep can you go with somebody? Can you actually, if somebody right now, if they're a health practitioner, to be able to look another human being in their eyes who's struggling with their health, who might be on their last shot, they're already been told, you've got a few months to live, or this thing is incurable, or, you're never going to get blank. You're never going to be able to improve your vision again after this accident. To look that person in the eye, to see them, person to person, heart to heart, and to look them in their eyes and tell them, I got you. Mm-hmm. I've got you. We're going to do this together. I'm going to give you everything that I've got, and I'm expecting you to do the same thing, and you will get better. To have the audacity to do that, to care that much, and to follow up your actions, that's when you are truly being a beneficial presence. And there's different versions of that. I just gave a version from the health perspective as a coach of some sort, or a clinician. But those are those moments, because somebody can write a really good book and not practice the principles. Somebody can be a wealthy practitioner of some sort, but their people, their clients, their patients are not truly thriving. There's variations of all of this stuff, but what it really boils down to is, can you really go deep with somebody as well? And not just, I don't know why all these scriptural things are coming up, but the whole, I guess because you brought up Michael Beckwith, but the idea of, if you give a man a fish, he can eat for the day. If you could teach him a fish, he can eat for a lifetime, kind of thing. How many people are you teaching to fish for a lifetime, and not just even giving a handout? The handout's important, though. That's being a beneficial presence. But to what degree are we going to go? I mean, this is getting into some complicated things that are really actually simple, but but it goes back to the first thing that I said earlier, which is to master the level that you're at, because Anthony Robbins, you brought up as well. He started off with that story he shares all the time, which is he set out to feed 2 families over Thanksgiving because he never had that. His family was poor and broke, and another organization that came by and brought food on Thanksgiving. And he wanted to be able to do that for others. And eventually that evolved into feeding, I think 4 million people last year with his organization. And it started as 2. But also he's looking at that level where people are getting fed who need to get fed. But the other level that he's operating with simultaneously is teaching people like us, to be able to impact people at a deeper level. Mm-hmm. So he's got that both, the breadth and the depth, both, lots and lots of people he's reaching on a very, on the fringe level, just being able to have a meal, but that depth is remarkable. This is why he's going to go down in the books as somebody who changed the world. Mm.
Yeah, very well explained and articulated. And one last thing on that note, before we dive into the Sleep Smarter topic, one thing that came up for me as you're talking about going deep with somebody is that's exactly what I do when I work with people, and that's what I pride myself on, is being able to tap into the motivating triggers behind the quote-unquote protocol, or behind the quote-unquote symptom of a physical and mental emotional dis-ease. And I thought about this idea that sometimes it's not enough to just believe in yourself. Sometimes what you need is to know somebody else believes in you first.
Mm-hmm. Powerful, man. I mean, what else is there? You know, what else is there? Man, that just brought up a lot of things for me, man. And even, you know, I mentioned my wife just left to go and pick up my sons. And we really strive for that. You know, this is another thing where, again, people who are very evolved in their thinking and spiritually inclined, I mean, truly evolved human beings can argue that, you know, enlightenment is a solo journey, you know, and your happiness is dependent on you. You know, I've been through that. I've been through those phases of thinking. Yeah. And there are parts of that remain. But at the end of the day, again, if you look at reality, you know, truth. Actually what's going on here on this planet and what's been going on the whole time, we're social creatures. You know, everything about you is social. Every cell in your body is social. And you better be thankful for that. You know, so let's not lie to ourselves that our enlightenment is a singular journey, or it's a solo journey, that our happiness is dependent on us. You know what? I made a decision a couple of years ago. It's probably about, well, my youngest son is 4. So it's probably about 5 years ago that I was going to take the risk of putting my happiness into my wife. I went through a phase of about 2 years where I practiced that. No matter what mood she was in, I was practicing choosing the mood that I wanted. And I mastered that thing. But there was this hole because I was losing connection. And I made the decision that my enlightenment is through her. And I want to do everything in my power to make that other life as happy as she can possibly be. And the same thing with my kids, you know, and a lot of parents strive to do that automatically, but then the enlightened person will tell them, you know, that's not the path. That's not the path to happiness, is trying to make your children happy and make your spouse happy and your family happy. It's a big part of the game, because I'm telling you right now, if you're going to be successful in reality, it's going to be with and through the assistance of other people. I promise you that. You know, and the number one most influential factor on our health, on our success in life, on our happiness is our relationships. Yes. You know, so when I was able to position things and to step up into my greatness and to actually earn my wife's belief in me, because a lot of us, especially men, we want it. We think that we deserve it. And you really do. It's a rite of passage. You have to earn that for somebody to truly believe in you. You know, why don't you believe in my dream? Earn it. You know, really, that's what it really boils down to. So being able to earn her belief in me took everything to a whole new level. And it's so funny that it kind of corresponds with that 3 years ago and all the things that have transpired. You know, once I truly had that support and that belief in me, oh my goodness, man, the floodgates open, you know, because you feel like no matter what, there's somebody that knows how remarkable you are, you know, and it just really motivates you and pushes you to another level. And I'm so grateful for that. But again, I've got to say it, I had to earn it. I had to earn that first because I wanted it. I was like bent on it. Like, this is the part that we get twisted, is that part of our happiness. It's like but you have to do it first. Right. And then the environment will start to conform to that, you know? So I hope that makes sense, man. It's a lot there.
Brother, you give me goosebumps right now. Every single thing you start talking about is literally what I'm experiencing within myself, and again, the reflection of my reality, using that as feedback, not using it as judgment or another story creation, but using it as feedback. And I don't know what it is, but this whole conversation is the medicine for me. And again, obviously, I would hope that it would be for everyone listening. But you said something really, really interesting here, is that it goes back to that idea that you deserve love, but you're not entitled to it.
Ooh, yeah.
So you earn it. And again, it's not this Western colonial, like, oh, I'm going to go out there and make it happen. It works through you. It's a presence that you have. It's a practice. It's a daily choice that you make to improve yourself and to work closer to that vision you have. But you're not entitled to it. But yes, you do deserve it. So you have to align with it and live it.
Yes, dude, that is a powerful statement, man. It's so perfectly said. You know, you deserve it, but you're not entitled to it. And just think about how many people walk around with a sense of entitlement, you know, and
that's where all my pain comes from, being entitled.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And it is possible to get to a place where your deserving precedes you. Your reputation precedes you, you know, where you no longer have to introduce yourself and it's already established what you deserve. Yes, you can definitely get to that place. But on that day-to-day thing, the lady at the health food store or the grocery store, she doesn't know you.
Right.
You're not entitled to her respect. You give it.
Wow.
You know, you find a way to add some value to her. You know, if she's not saying, well, thank you, have a nice day. I mean, that's tough stuff. Even as I'm saying this, it does get on my nerves. I hold the door for somebody, you know, a lady or a guy with, you know, he's got, you know, I don't know, whatever situation, and they don't say thank you, don't acknowledge it. I'm like, dang, well, but I did the practice, and I should be grateful that I did the practice, because what I'm doing, I'm developing that muscle to be able to do it for people who do appreciate it in that moment. But if I just get into a place where I'm, again, jaded by opening doors for people or being kind or being friendly, man, my life is going to suck. And guess what? It's so interesting how 9 times out of 10, when you give that little extra act of kindness or show a little bit of extra respect for somebody as a human being, how that starts to trickle down and it can change their day. You know, the next person after you in that line is going to get a much more delighted human being who's serving them, because you don't lose anything. A big part of why we don't do that is because we feel like we're losing something. You know, if I'm the one to be kind, I'm losing it. It's just going to make you feel better.
Which is the point.
Do it out of selfishness, if anything, you know, just instead of walking around with a sense of entitlement, like everybody should know who I am and, you know, or should respect me because I'm in the building. Come on, man. I mean, those days are over, you know, like there's enough Kanye West in the planet, you know, there's one and that's enough, you know, and we don't even know him. He might be totally different. Chances are he's not. Chances are he is a bit of a, you know, he's not the best person to be around, but people love him. There are people who love him. There are people that value him. There are people who understand his presence. And, you know, even still, even those moments, because we all can go through those moments where we're spewing negativity on other people. It happens. But we get to choose. We get to choose what our template is, you know? And so kind of the point I want to get to with this is you're automatically going to start falling into patterns. This is how we operate. And the quicker that we can get that we're not more important than the next person, the quicker we're going to be even more successful. I promise you, because I'm seeing it, man. There's some stuff that I would share right now, man, that I'm seeing, which is so crazy. I'll share it. Do you want me to share it, man?
I want you to share anything you want to share.
All right. Just today, I got a text from a guy who's just crushing it, like one of the most successful people online for a long, long time and offline as well. And he sent me a text. He was like, actually, let me read the text. Real TV here, guys.
Yes.
All right. So here's what the text said. And this was totally out of the blue. Like, we've only like chatted a couple of times, you know, but so he sent this text. And it says, dude, that's the first sentence. Screw Arianna Huffington. She's obviously got it out for you. All right. So I'm like, whoa. What? That's so crazy, because right at that moment when that text came in from this most unlikely source, I was going back and forth on how to process this information. You know, my new book, Sleep Smarter, has just really come to market, and Arianna Huffington's book, The Sleep Revolution, came out a couple of weeks after mine. And when I was sitting there with the publisher last summer, I'm like, somebody's going to do this. You've got the book right here, right now. Let's go. Somebody's going to do this, because even my agents, well, not my agent's amazing, but the other agents that I was talking with and debating on working with, they were trying to push me in another direction. It was like, with your platform and your experience and your history, you'd be great with a diet book or weight loss book. And I was like, no, no.
Yeah, we need more of those
right here. Yes. There's a bazillion of those, and there's always a new way, a new approach that you can kind of come from. But the bottom line was, this is a subject that is poorly lacking in our society. And so I set off on that journey, and they found out later on about her book coming out, and they wanted to beat her to market. And so I was like, let's go, let's get out there. But I still saw it as cooperation. Yes. Right. But seeing it firsthand, you know, one of the things that was so interesting when the book first came out, before it was actually released publicly, but, you know, the finished copies came in, and the in-house publicists at Rodale start to send out copies to different places, and big entities like the Dr. Oz show and all this stuff were very, very excited about the book. But I'm Shawn Stevenson. You know, I'm somebody who's very, very respected and known in this space, in the health space, the podcasting world, and that's all good. Arianna is an icon. You know, she's an icon. I'm the expert. She's the icon. And so guess who's ending up on Dr. Oz? The icon is, you know, and that's fine. You know, they're still getting all these messages, you know, they're interested in this and they want to do that. And, you know, but it's so delayed, and there's so many things that are not clicking there. And it's just like, what is going on? Well, and I had this really strange feeling, because some of the language that she uses and that other people use, they came from my ideas. You know, I'm like the first person that put together something that we know, but nobody's ever really said it, which is for one of the things, for example, is the connection between sex and sleep, right? We know this in popular culture, that, you know, people have sex and they tend to get sleepy, especially guys, as far as the media, you know. And so, but why? Why? Is this real? Let me go and find out. And I uncovered and found a way to communicate how intimately these two things connect. For example, the increase in oxytocin. And this is published and these are generally going to be double-blind, placebo-controlled studies that I'm talking about in Sleep Smarter. And the benefit of oxytocin to basically counteract cortisol, which is the anti-sleep hormone for sure, to facilitate better sleep. You know, oxytocin, aka the cuddle hormone. And I just heard, and I walked into the studio the other day to do a show, and my video guy there was like, yeah, Arianna was just on Late Night with Stephen Colbert, and she said that an orgasm is nature's Ambien. It's like, what? Come on, really? But again, I could be like, that there's some kind of thievery going on here. But that's so stupid and selfish to even think something like that. And to make matters even worse or better, I got a message from another person who just interviewed her, a friend of mine. And he sent the text. He was like, dude, Arianna loves your book. And she listened to the interview that we did, and she's got her notes from that show right in front of her right now. Wow.
That's amazing. That's
powerful.
And that's the point. And thank you so much for sharing that just that authenticity and that story, because it's one of those things that you could distill down into the fabric of your own basic life. What comes up for me as a great segue into that topic is that cooperation, that collaborative mindset allows you to actually sleep better. And you're talking about sleeping smarter now.
That's right, dude. I mean, you said it perfectly. That is like, I love that. I absolutely love that. I really hope to communicate that. Man, I love that, dude. I love that. It will help you to sleep better for sure. You will, if you're struggling with, these crazy ideas that somebody, first of all, let me make something really clear, guys. And I love you guys. I really do. But I want to see everybody winning more. I want to see more winning. And the only person you're playing against is yourself. But if you are worried about somebody stealing your ideas and you live in 2016, maybe if you happen upon a DeLorean and you go back to like the 1970s and like everything is trademarked or whatever and inventions or whatever, but it's the internet. Everybody's got access to everything. So being in fear of somebody taking your ideas is holding you back. Being in fear of sharing your gifts, the very best ideas, the very best insights that you've ever had, holding back on sharing those things is only hurting you, because there is not an idea in existence right now that hasn't already been implanted in other people's spirits. Yeah. So just say yes to it and share. And I promise you the good is going to come to you. So in that example, I've actually admired Arianna Huffington for many years. And I mean, just the audacity and heart and courage of this woman to create the entity that she's had. She literally changed news. She changed how news is done and how it's consumed. And she went through her own struggles, tragically, with her health, and finding that optimizing her sleep was able to transform her entire life and bring her back to actually enjoy the fruits of her labor. How could I feel some type of way? But how can I feel some type of remorse or I don't even like that word. I'll say peanut butter and jealousy. Right? How can I feel that for somebody who I admire so much and who's in certain ways allowed me to contribute by being a part of my story and a part of my heart, And with that said, I just want to do anything that I can to lift her up and to support her, because at the end of the day, I'm successful. I'm already successful. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I have my family. I have people who I wake up every day and I ask the question, how can I serve? And I serve these people. I don't need any more stuff. I don't need any more acknowledgement. That's nice. That's all nice. That's the cherry on top, right? But I might be allergic to cherries. You know what I'm saying? So it's really just, first of all, understanding that doing good work and giving and making that impact is really what it's all about. All that other stuff is just bonus. That's extra. That's a bonus sandwich. I don't know why I'm using these food analogies, but the bottom line is you'll know already. You'll know when you master your level, and really being about that, being about mastering your level and creating the person that can actually handle when those bigger things come your way. Yes. Because I promise you, if this was 3 years ago, this would have been overwhelming for me. I would have adjusted. I would have made something happen, but it wouldn't have been I wouldn't have had so much presence and so much awareness, even over the crazy thoughts that might come up, to redirect that to service and to redirect that to what my real mission is here. I'm not trying to sell a bunch of books and then disappear, be on to the next thing. I want to impact the lives of 2 million people directly with this one book. That's the goal. And then outside of that, I mean, that 2 million directly, that's 200 million. That's that gets really big for the people who impact the other people. So me holding on to my message and worrying about, oh, is Arianna utilizing some of my message, or is such and such? I'm missing the whole point, which is I'm here to be a beneficial presence on the planet. And it can't be just through my little life. If I do that, I'm literally going to end my opportunity here a whole lot faster by stressing out and trying to save the world by myself.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one as a young man, because oftentimes, you know, I'm so happy when people remind me that, hey, you're almost like 31, like it's okay. You don't have to be at this place. And energetically and just on my life's path, I never really felt my age. I always felt like I was, you know, I had the mind and heart of someone in their 45 or 50s, right? Traditionally, I would date women that were, you know, at least 15 years older than me for certain reasons. And so I would feel this like pressure on me, and I didn't know where it was coming from. I couldn't identify it. I just knew that I had to alchemize it somehow. I had to use it and match it with a vision that somehow I could rise to the occasion. And through this conversation and my own revelations, I'm realizing like there's certain things that you're only going to learn through time and through experience and through grace and patience. And there really is no point in trying to speed up the process, because what happens then? Okay, then you get this big platform and you get this acknowledgement, but the acknowledgement right now isn't even doing it. So what makes you think that it's going to do it, you know, later? It's kind of an interesting spiral that I think all of us inevitably go through and have to actually, you know, as you said, take on a state of grace so that when we do get acknowledgement, it actually feels good. And then that way we actually get quality sleep.
Love it, bro. Love it.
Yeah, so and by the way, Shawn, there are no real time parameters on my show. That's why it's my show. So you can go as long or as deep as you feel you want to. I really want to touch more on the Sleep Smarter book and just some really incredible principles that you want to pull out for everybody listening.
Absolutely, man. So we might actually need to do another show, man.
We might have. Well, I'm totally available for that.
Awesome. As I've got one more interview here in about 20 minutes, and you know, I allotted I think it was maybe an hour and a half to kick it with you, which it's always a pleasure, man. And I didn't know that these things were going to be said today or shared, but I'm glad that they were, and I hope that they hit people's spirits. And there's some change that's happening right now, you know, and what I really want to say, and you know, just to kind of talk about it a little bit at least, is the reason that sleep is, it's actually looked at in our culture like an obstacle. It's a problem. You know, the reason that it's looked at as an obstacle and something that is a problem or something that we have to do is because we're so inundated with the idea that we have to work hard in order to achieve.
Right.
Now, it's not that that's not a component of success. You know, there would definitely be some sweat equity involved, for sure. But here's the thing about reality. You know, there's that yin and yang, or yin and yang, depending on your status, you know, how you want to say it. But there's a balance there. And ultimately, if you're not cultivating that energy, you know, your chi, your jing, if you're not really filling yourself back up and taking rest, because one of the spiritual laws is being able to take rest. You know, take rest and know that I am. Take rest and know that I got you. You know, and we've really lost sight of that really important thing. And now that's a spiritual thing. I'm a very analytical guy, but you know, we get a little spiritual here and there. But your genes expect you to sleep. I'm not talking about your skinny jeans. I'm talking about what's contained within your DNA. Your DNA literally expects you to sleep. And it is the number one most influential factor on what your DNA is doing. Newsflash today, guys. Nutrition is obviously critical. Obviously. Your, movement, exercise, stress, relationships, all those things are important. Sleep outweighs all of those things. And there's a tremendous amount of just powerful material inside Sleep Smarter that really breaks that down. One of the things I'll share with you guys. So recently, it's really come to the forefront, Elizabeth Blackburn winning the Nobel Prize, the discovery of telomerase, an enzyme that can add length back onto your telomeres. And so our telomeres are the most, I would say it's the most accurate biological marker that we have for how long we're going to live. And University of California actually found out that sleep deprivation is one of the biggest drivers for accelerated loss of your telomere length. Okay? So you are literally aging yourself tremendously faster when you're not getting sleep. And so a lot of us will lie to ourselves, especially if we're in a high level of nutrition group. And we'll use that as like a badge of honor. I know I did that, I'm eating a lot of raw foods. I'm very clean. I'm spiritually inclined. I don't need that much sleep. 4 hours is all I need. Accelerated loss of your telomere length. Let me say that again. And unless you're investing, whatever, $5,000, whatever that crazy amount is to get some telomerase supplements, chances are you're not adding back onto that telomere length. You're just burning it off. And you're going to hit a wall. And I know there's people listening that have hit that wall where everything was all sunshine and roses, and all of a sudden it's a struggle to get out of bed. It's a struggle to do the things that I normally do in my life. It's a struggle to think. And, people would come into my clinic for years, and looking at me automatically like allopathic physician, what can I take for my energy? What can I take to lose weight? What can I take? What can I take? What can I take to help me sleep? And at the end of the day, great sleep is a solution for all of those things. So as far as what can I take for weight loss, study done by University of Chicago. They had exercise. Well, I'm going to share this one first. This is it. Okay, study University of Chicago. Powerful, incredibly important study. There's so many studies that I couldn't put them all into Sleep Smarter and keep that cohesiveness and that great flow to the book, but this one was really important. And so University of Chicago, and they had dieters, and they put them on a very strict diet where they're counting calories. They know exactly what they're eating. And they also had them get 8.5 hours of sleep. All right, so that's the first phase of the study. Second phase, really interesting what happens. Same exact diet, but now they sleep deprive them. So now they can only get 5.5 hours of sleep. Still tracking their food. Same exact diet. And what they discovered was that when they were getting 3 hours more sleep, they ended up losing 55% more body fat. Okay? Not cutting more calories, not exercising more, but simply by changing the amount of sleep they were getting. And I didn't say 55% more weight. They lost 55% more body fat. All right? That's the stuff that most people are targeting getting rid of. And it was simply by changing their sleep. Now, in Sleep Smarter, we focus on sleeping smarter. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. Quantity is important. It's like calories. Calories are important, but it's not the only thing, and it's far from it. It's the quality of those calories. That's why it's the quality of the quantity of sleep that you're getting. It's the quality of those hours that matters far more. And it's like timing an investment as well. So it's not just how much you invest, but when you invest. So even timing your sleep or putting it at certain anabolic windows in the night, you get more physiological metabolic benefit as well. And so the research shows that it's between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And note that that's going to vary depending on the time of the year, how far you're from the equator, all that stuff, whether or not you're the country you're in practices time zones, which is a weird thing humans do, is like, you know what? Let's change the time by an hour. And screwing with everybody, their biological clock. But it's because Basically, that's within a few hours of it getting dark outside. And naturally, during the winter, humans, again, evolutionary biology, we would be sleeping more because it's not safe to be out in the darkness because we're not nocturnal creatures, period. Like, our senses suck at night, comparatively. I mean, that lion can see and smell you. You can't see it or smell it, chances are, you know? And so, understanding within a few hours of getting dark outside, we're going to get our greatest secretion of human growth hormone if we're asleep, aka the youth hormone. And that contributes to the reinforcement and development of your lean muscle tissue and being able to retain that muscle tissue. Testosterone levels are going to be peaked, not just then, but throughout the day by optimizing your sleep in that anabolic window. Your melatonin as well, if you're asleep, is going to help you to get your normal sleep cycles. But if your melatonin is elevated because you're sleeping at the wrong time, you've been exposed to artificial light for several hours at night, your melatonin is going to be suppressed. And Harvard researchers found that it's about 3 hours that you're off your laptop or your iPhone or your computer or your TV. Melatonin is suppressed for about 3 hours. Here's the big red flag and why this matters. And this is why, especially with this audience, can really understand how important this is that there was a phenomenal nurses study, and many different studies pull from this. But what they discovered was that nurses who work the overnight shift, okay, so nurses who are doing the shift work and working overnight, they have about a 30% greater incidence of breast cancer than the normal population. Higher levels of heart disease, diabetes, obesity, you name it. Why? They're nurses, you know, they should be healthy. Working at a university for so many years, I had the opportunity to work with so many people, you know, pre-med students and nurses, and seeing their befores and afters after their clinicals and after, oh my goodness, man, it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. But the people that I work with, I was able to, you know, help to guide them as best as I could in that time. And I definitely wasn't at the level that I'm at now, so that they can kind of stave off the negative side effects of the work they were about to do. And I would quiz them, and I still do to this day whenever I talk with a nurse or a physician. I'm like, so at your hospital or at your office, how many people out of 10 that work at your hospital are fit? And usually they'll say 1 or 0. I'm not kidding. And I've asked hundreds of people, all right? I'll say roughly maybe 220 or something like that, all right? But here's the bottom line. Melatonin is quite possibly the most powerful endogenously produced anti-cancer hormone that humans make.
Right.
All right. So if your melatonin's screwed up because you're up doing the laptop lap dance all night, or you're working an overnight shift, cancer is going to come knocking. A much higher likelihood of that, because you don't have the most important defense your body should have. And so all of these things are contained within Sleep Smarter. But, and this was just a preview to the next show that we'll do, Ronnie, but what we really focus on in the book is solutions. I absolutely love this kind of information. I love it. But I don't want to be a human filing cabinet. I want to know how to execute. Like, what can I do to change something? Mm-hmm. You know, I want to know about the pieces and why it works, what's happening. But at the end of the day, what can I do and what can I give to somebody else to change their life right now? What can I do right now that can help me sleep better at night? And I'm going to share one quick tip here, one quick one, and something that can resonate with this audience, all right? Because we talk about this specific time to exercise to improve your sleep quality. 75% more deep sleep if you exercise at this time, all right? We talk about nutrition as related to sleep. What? How your microbiome actually influences your sleep cycle. Specific good sleep nutrients that you need to get on a daily basis. That's in the book. But there's something else that's also relevant that, you know, I don't often talk about this one, but I'm going to share it with you guys really quickly. So fascinating research and showing how important body work is for improving sleep quality. All right. And one of the people that I consulted with on this was Dr. Kelly Starrett. He wrote the New York Times bestseller, Becoming a Supple Leopard. Right. Really, it's a textbook. All right. This is for the nerdiest of the nerds, man. But he told me, he was like, if I can add one thing to your book, Shawn, it would be to do this body work. Because at the time, we'll just say that I had 20 strategies, and there's 21 in the book ultimately. And he has this process called gut smashing. And basically, you're taking one of those like little plastic balls that you would see in a bin at like a grocery store or Walmart or something, and making sure that it's not completely hard and filled up, but just got a little give to it. You put that bad boy on the floor, you lay your body down on top of it in your midsection, and you move around on the ball and let that ball kind of work into those muscle fibers and help to unglue, is what he says, unglue those muscle fibers. And one of the biggest reasons this is effective, that your vagus nerve, which connects your gut to your brain, is along that track. And what the research has found is that 90% of the information with that super highway between your gut and your brain is sending messages from your gut to your brain and not the other way around. Okay? So in many ways, your gut is telling your brain what to do. So this is a parasympathetic nervous system hack. If you can massage that area, all right, and that's your rest and digest system. Plus the common stuff that we're seeing now. It's very difficult to go very far without seeing a new a massage place somewhere. There are franchises everywhere because it's coming back in favor with popular culture. And I know I have, but a lot of times people will fall asleep on the table, all right, because you're getting activation, oxytocin, endorphins, serotonin. Serotonin is a precursor for melatonin. We already talked a little bit about oxytocin. And I can go on and on and on in the benefits, all right? And after you're done even getting a massage, even if you don't go to bed for, just say 5 hours later, you're still chilling. Life is good. Like, if people are upset around you, it's like, why so serious? Like you've got this buffer and you're good. Stress is automatically reduced. So consistently getting massage therapy. And this doesn't have to be where you're paying whatever. This can be a family member. This could be self-massage. And we talk about even certain acupressure points. Incredible, clinically proven research in the book, a specific acupressure point, that if you hold that point and manipulate that point, you're going to increase your melatonin production. What? You guys know this. Ronnie's audience knows this stuff, that these things are possible. But the public at large doesn't really know this thing. And this is what Sleep Smart is really about, is bringing that information to the forefront so that everybody can take advantage of it and use it to transform their lives.
You brought up so many little tidbits in there that are so relative to so many things that I talk about pretty much all the time. Anyone that really is tuned into my work knows that I'm obsessive about hormones, about estrogen dominance, about aromatization, which you know very well, that process when quote-unquote good hormones become converted into negative estrogens. And melatonin, funny enough, is anti-estradiol, anti-toxic estrogen for layman's terms, and actually it helps to kind of somehow inhibit that estrogen conversion. And so when you mentioned that melatonin is anti-cancerous, I was like, see, that's another one of those little things. And then I just want to say too, this is like a nerd moment for a second. I'm not going to go too far into it, but the body work thing. I have a friend who I'm going to have on the show soon. He does neuromuscular release therapy, the most intense, like at the level of like Maori body work. It's that level of intensity. And I've done so many sessions with him. And one of the things he'll do, he works specifically with the vagus nerve as the goal of recalibrating it so your parasympathetic nervous system can actually come back into dominance, like that yin-yang balance. And he'll take his elbow and he has you relax your stomach. He'll drive his elbow through the muscle fibers, the abdominal wall, and move it around to the point where you feel like he's going to hit your spine. Like it's full on intense, but after he lifts up, it's almost like this energy that's been cemented in your physical tissues, like it's like it like right off gases out of you. It's like a, call it like a energetic release. It's the most incredible thing and the most intense, painful thing at the same time. And not in, like, as you said, not everyone has to experience that level, but I just wanted to bring that example to further qualify what you're saying, is because I've had that experience. I know so many people that have had even just basic body work. The idea of having that hands-on touch, having another human being touch you, is healing in of itself.
Yes, you said it, man. And this is another thing that we can get disconnected from in our culture today, where we're so isolated, and this is it's a subtle shout out to reconnect to what's most important about us. This interview has gone a lot of different places, and at the end of the day, this is really about becoming the best version of ourselves. And many of the pieces that we've discussed are obviously going to be some game changers for a lot of people. And like I said, man, we got to do this again, and I'll come back on and dive more into the tips and strategies. But of course, people can pick up the book today, and I promise you it's going to be something that impacts your life for many, many, many years to come.
So where can everybody find you, your podcast, the book? How can they get it right now?
Awesome. Yeah, so everybody can pick up the book at the usual places, Amazon.com. You can pick it up at BarnesandNoble.com, your local bookstore. If they happen to be out, we're sold out at a few stores. If they happen to be out and you go there for it, just look them in their eyes and say, "I'm the captain now," and demand that they get the book back in stock immediately. But also, of course, we've got a couple of bonuses at SleepSmarterBook.com that are in conjunction with the book and just kind of celebrating this movement that's happening. And again, man, thank you so much for creating the space for today and for having me on. Always a pleasure, man. I truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you for being willing to open up and share all the insights and your own personal experiences. I know everyone's going to appreciate it, none of least myself. And yeah, everyone listening, you got the call. It's time to answer the call. Not just to sleep better, but to sleep smarter. And you know now where to get that information and how to start applying it to your life. I highly recommend you all check out Shawn's podcast. I listen to it regularly. It's one of my favorites. Brings a new spice and flavor to the whole health podcasting world. And the last thing I want to say for all of you is that I say this quite often: implement. Do it now, do it now. What do I mean by that? I mean the things that resonate with you. Pay attention to what you're paying attention to. If something in this conversation resonated with you, it gave you an aha moment, that's the thing for you. You don't have to take everything, just take that one thing, implement it, create a discipline around it, and then build from there. So with that said, thank you so much to our special guest, Shawn Stevenson, and thanks to all of you for joining us for another episode of the official Ronnie Landis podcast, and we will catch you next time. Aloha.